if you're looking at your business, oh, I got to fix these 2 or 3 things, then it's perfect. Well, then you don't leave anything for the buyer to do to get incremental value out of. So actually identifying some of those things, as we did in this last deal, hey, here's the things that we haven't done yet. Here's the places where we're still broken that you can fix or we can fix together and you can get incremental value from. And there's big potential solutions to that could drive that. That helped us actually create a better deal and deal structure and attract more buyers to what we were doing, our flaws, not our perfections.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am joined today with 2 incredible guests, Mr. Gary Lester, the Faithful Warrior, and Mr. Derek Drake, the Redwood.
Yeah.
How you doing, gents?
Excellent. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. Great to be here. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Oh, happy Easter,
Happy
gents.
Easter. Happy Easter, Gary.
We're recording this on Easter Sunday.
Easter Sunday.
It is.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a rising.
Yeah.
How poignant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And even considering the topic of the podcast you went through yesterday,
Yeah.
Rising, Easter,
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
New life.
Wow. So what I'd like to talk with you fine men about today is exiting your business. So I think it'd be good to start with sharing a little bit about your journeys, because you've both got a lot of experience with this. Because I'm thinking about guys who are going to be listening to this who are maybe considering the idea of selling the business. They may be even close to selling it, but worried about, well, what would I do next?
Correct.
Yeah.
Maybe they've had the fleeting thought about selling it just because it's too much, the stress of the business, and maybe they're falling out of love with the business. Maybe it's success, financial success is coming at a cost that's too high, right?
Yeah.
So I think let's start off with sharing a little bit about your stories, and then we can weave it into the dynamics that can go into selling the business, and then what life might look like afterwards, because you're there right now, Gary, wanting to, well, you're both kind of there, right?
Yeah.
So, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim. And it's great to be here with you doing this and with Gary as part of this. So this will be a good conversation for us to talk about today for sure. So I've had the experience to be a part of exiting 4 different businesses over the course of about a 25-year career. Most recently, just a couple of years ago, was my most recent exit. Not fully out of it, still CEO, still own a portion of it. Each of the transactions that I have had have been a sale to a private equity. So they've been a full exit of the business for the most part. All the businesses have been in marketing services. So marketing services agencies, promotion agencies, things of that nature. And it's been a great run. However, different from me than Gary, I never started any of these businesses. So these are businesses that I acquired a controlling share in from somebody else who had founded them. And then I elevated them from where they were to a place that we could exit on a nice multiple after growth. And so it's a different perspective for me, because I got into every one of them with the intent of getting out of it in a short time period in that roll up. And so it's been I think 2 really different perspectives.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that, right? Because obviously you started Eco-Analysts, grew it for
32 years.
32 years. Wow.
Yeah. To build to, inception to exit. Yeah.
Wow. So do you want to share a little bit about yours?
Sure. So I've done 2 exits. The first exit was kind of a side hustle I started in 2010, which was real estate. I owned mobile homes and then mobile home parks, and I had a mobile home park portfolio of 5 parks, which I sold as a portfolio exit in 2022. And so that was something I built from scratch, and just had a good run of a dozen years or so all in, and but it was time to let it go, and exited quite nicely. But my main career as an aquatic biologist by training and fisheries scientist, I started an environmental consulting company when I was a graduate student at the University of Idaho. I had a couple of part-time jobs summers as a student, but instead of going get a job somewhere and then start a business, I said, I'm going to try the business route and plan B, I'll go get the job. Fortunately, I never needed plan B. 32 years later, we had a company of 68 full-time employees, 74 total employees. We'd done 2 small acquisitions plus 1 group hire, and then 1 strategic divestment of one of those business units when it no longer served us. And talked to my 2 partners. I had 54%, and I had a longtime partner and then another partner about 10 years. And I got to the point in life where I no longer had the passion. After 30 years, I was looking for something different. My season in this was coming to a close. And so I told the guys a couple of years ago, I said, hey guys, by the time I'm 55, which was last October, I says, I want 1 or both feet on the exit ramp. And so got us prepared to really focus on our profitability, EBITDA, and interviewed 5 brokers, picked the broker, went to market in February of 2024. It took us 11 months, and we closed in January of 2025 and closed quite nicely. Yes. And I like Derek, I've got a couple years earn out. We didn't quite get a full cash offer, the 30% kind of hanging out there, but we're going to work our butts off here for the next couple of years. But my season is changing, and TPM actually helped me in my head realize that EcoAnalyst was no longer serving my heart. And so it was coming through this process of the reset, it was like the yes and the no list, and I'm like, EcoAnalyst was not on the yes list. I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that people stay in the business for too long and or for the wrong reasons?
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely will say that. I think that's the case. I think there's, as business leaders in particular and owners of companies in that work and the work that typically you do as an entrepreneur or as a leader, as a CEO and running a business, there's an identity and a comfort and connection and all of that comes with this. And you were in a unique position, at least I know this was my story, where I made the business serve my needs instead of me fully servicing the opportunity and needs of the business.
I mean, with the current one or all 4 exits?
No, I would definitely say that has been a pattern. When you're in a position that you can structure the business to meet your personal needs, not just financial, but your emotional needs, anything that comes to that. I mean, I was at a place where, with the company in particular, where I wanted and needed an escape from everyday life. So I structured the business that required me to travel, 18 locations around the country. And there was a reason for me to be at any one of them every week. So it provided me the opportunity to create a whole platform for my own personal escape and what that was. And so I think we're in a unique position, and I would just challenge any business owner and it's consistent with many that I've talked to, that when you really get down to it and you pull down what you're doing with the business, I think we were talking the other day, like the trauma we have can spark the entrepreneurship. Well, then you're going to turn that, and I think at least I did, where I've used the business as a way to really meet or facilitate different needs that I felt that I had. And that can prolong some other healing. And
yes,
I could say if I did this exit before I found TPM, had it been the other way around, I think at the reset, it would have been like, you got to get out of this. It would have been clear, because I can, even this morning, the promptings of what I'm doing next have changed quite a bit.
Beautiful. So I'm curious, what is going on for you guys in the moments when you begin to realize, hey, I've got to get out of this?
Yeah, for me, it's a little different for me because I built the business out of my entrepreneurial spirit, but my motivation was a financial mode. I'm going to build a my financial security, right? That was kind of what I loved the work I did and how, but the end result, the goal was, it's like the end goal is like, I want financial security. So I just keep growing the business and working and grinding and keep pushing and keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. And And it's like, oh man, I guess I, take a little bit home at the end of the year, good year, bad year, the distributions would vary, blah, blah, blah. Keep putting money back into the business. And some point out there in the future is going to be, the ship is going to come in, right? And for me, the indicators for me were, okay, my energy, and I'm losing my steam. It's the drive. After 30 years of anything is a long time, right? And my passion was waning, get a little quote unquote long in the tooth. And what happened was when I exited my mobile home park portfolio, I realized I had so much equity in there. There was some cash flow coming off, but there was so much equity in there that when I sold my mobile home park portfolio from active operating and I put it into passive investments, freed up all my time, just liquidated all that and put it in at a good return, I was taking home more money and putting in zero time.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's financial freedom.
Yeah.
That's mailbox money. That's money that keeps coming, whether I sleep or work. It's not depending on my time. And so that was in the back of my mind to become eco-analyst. It was like, okay, this is taking 40, 50 hours of my week.
So now I don't have to do it, right?
I don't have to do it. Yeah. So I basically realized it's like when we got an evaluation of the business, I'm like, I could take my 54% of that. I can do the passive investments and, and sure enough, I'm, invested money. I'm taking home more on the passive side than I was on the salary and even on distribution sometimes. So I'm like, okay, if my motivation was to have enough financial security to allow me to live the life I want to live, work in my case wasn't a necessity. I got it to that point, then it was time to liquidate and pull my chips off the table. And I'll add in another thing that I didn't have to pay capital gains tax, which is an issue that we've talked about before. There's a strategy that, selling my real estate, I didn't have to 1031 to defer my capital gains. I didn't have to buy more real estate and continue to be a landlord. There are ways, and we're going to talk about that in the Brotherhood. I'll do a master class on capital gains tax deferral strategies that are long established but not well known. And I think a lot of guys, it actually changes their calculus and say, 3 years at this level of EBITDA multiple and this level of 5% return in the market, and then I pay my taxes and get this 5% return on the rest, and I can be there in 3 years and redo the math, and it's like, oh, I'm there now.
I remember that call in the IC, right? When you start to realize it.
Yeah. It's like, I can do this now. So I go through this mental exercise with business owners and, even David Mason here this week, and he's like, I got about 3 years. And I said, what's your goal? So, X amount of dollars per year. And I said, what's your business worth now? Blah, 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 blah. Well, if you invested it, he's like, holy cow. That's 3 years of my life I can get back. Just thinking about this mental exercise. So why are we in the business? Is, just motivations, the whole psychology of this. What's the driver? And maybe my gut feeling is a lot of business owners out there now who love work and stuff, but they're doing it for a certain reason, realize that they're at a point where they actually don't have to. And if you take that constraint off, what could I do with my life?
Exactly. It's really fascinating, right? Because oftentimes we get into business and we often confuse self-worth for net worth, right? And as you guys have been on your journey and you're able to separate those two, and you realize, oh, okay, I know who I am. I know my value, my worth outside of my business. And you shift from being pushed by pain, whereby you have to prove, to being pulled by pleasure. You start to look at things very differently, at which point you realize, okay, I've actually achieved my initial aims. I don't need to do this thing anymore. I'm choosing to do it. Therefore, is this a choice I actually am okay with?
Right. And I would say, back to your question about when do you know and what is that? If you're starting to feel it, you're starting to think it, it's time. And if you're staying in the business to get to a number, just as Gary pointed out with the capital gains deferral and what that is, plus there's lots of other ways to make deals to get your number. There's, if you have like, hey, here's my business, this is what it's worth. Just if I just did another 2 years, if I just did another 3 years, if I just did another 5 years, there's so many creative ways to make deals, to get things in place, to get to a number, to get a multiple, to get back-end deals, to get hired on as a consultant. That's not stuff in the equity transaction. I mean, there's so many different ways to monetize a transaction. And I mean, I will say for me, my signal each time has been, one, I'm struggling. It's work. It's not fun.
It's not fun anymore.
It's work. It's work I don't have a passion really to do. And the people around me are doing a better job than I'm doing. And I think that's been a big thing for me, to bring people into the business that have a passion for it, that can do it. Because when you're building and grinding, you're driving, you're the one driving, you're driving the quality, you're driving the strategy, you're driving the innovation, you're driving the ideation, you're driving all that stuff. But as you build your team and as you motivate that team, and if you're doing that kind of work, then all of a sudden it's like they're taking off and you're trying to keep up. And if you're honest about how things are working with the dynamics of your team, and you've brought the right people in, and it's feeling like work, and you're feeling like you kind of got to work to keep up with them, or you're holding them back, and that may be even some of the feedback you're getting, if you're getting honest feedback from your key people, and you're thinking about, geez, if I could do this another 2 or 3 years, then it's time.
Yeah.
Not 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It's time. Now.
Now, I've been asked by many guys in the movement, hey, if someone was to come in with a crazy offer to buy TPM, would you sell it? I'm like, well, what would be the point? Because I just want to build the same thing again. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I absolutely, both Doug and I, we love what we do. Even being here at the Rising, right? Although there's a lot of mechanics, there's been so many moments this week where I'm just stood there in complete awe and gratitude. And honestly, there was moments where I was laughing. Like, this is supposed to be work. Like, I'm driving the mule back to the house, and the coaches and I are shooting the shit, and we're having fun. And after just having had incredible experiences with you guys, it's just fun. Right?
Exactly.
And,
He's not there.
No, he's not there. He's absolutely not there.
That's a good symbol. If you're like that, then it's not time to sell your business.
Not at all. Not even close.
I heard something recently that I loved. It was, instead of thinking about how to build your business so you could sell it for $1 billion, what if you thought about how to build your business so you wouldn't even sell it for $1 billion?
Oh, interesting.
Because you love it that much.
Yeah.
The mission.
Love what you're doing.
Yeah. And I loved that frame, that little tweak. Right?
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's a great point, right? And that's one of the transitions that I'm at right now personally, because everything I've done in my career has been to create something to get rid of. I've never intentionally put a day into work into something that I want to hold on to forever. And that's something that I'm working on right now for myself. That's part of my next transition and where that is. And if you've got that in what you're doing, as you do,
it's your purpose. Your business is your
business is your purpose and where that is. And if that's where you're at, but you seem a little lost or confused, or the financial side's not where you want it and that kind of stuff, but you still feel that passion, then, get a hold of Tim or one of the other guys or any one of us, and let's work through the business challenge so that you can stay in your passion.
Yeah.
Because if it's just a business challenge, but it is your passion, and you feel like you need to exit it because the business isn't working, then let's work on fixing the business challenge together.
Yeah.
And your passion can change seasons in life. Your purpose can change. So it'll serve you for a period of time. And when you're starting to feel some uneasiness about it, or the energy is shifting, it's like, okay, look under the hood. What's going on here? And there's probably something deeper going on in here inside me. And it's like, okay, maybe I'm entering a new season in life, and things have changed. And I need to go a different direction, and the business no longer serves that. So there's a point of change as well.
Yeah,
So if it's when the business when it stops being able to be an expression of you, right?
Yeah.
Because you can change, but if the business is able to change and you have a desire for it to do so, then it could iterate.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
It could move.
Correct.
But, sometimes there's not a desire.
the other important part of this conversation is not just the seller, it's the buyer. And acknowledging the dynamics of the marketplace that you're in, and what that looks like, and who that buyer might be, and what the season is for that, and what the right fit is for you energetically in that transaction. Because most deals that you do, and everyone I've done and been a part of in that, there's a partnership that comes after that. There's a handoff that takes time.
Yeah.
It it is like that moment where the runners hand the baton and they run together for a while, and what that is, and that has an impact on how you win the race and all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely.
And so the right time to get the right buyer under the right structure and the right circumstances, not just from a valuation standpoint, but where's the business at the place that its next level of growth and development would benefit from having that right buyer and where that is, and market attracting those buyers and what that looks like. And so you might be ready and it might be the absolute right time, but the wrong buyer would be the wrong deal.
Yeah. I had that question come up. We had 5, LOI or letters of intent on our business. We interviewed all 5, went to Boston and interviewed them. One came from the UK, one from Canada, 3 from the States. And 2 of them asked me, said, Gary, what is your greatest fear in this process? I said, my biggest fear is I'm going to select the wrong partner for my employees and my clients to give opportunities for my employees to continue on and grow, give them opportunities I couldn't give them because I didn't have the resources to grow the business. But I wanted a partner that's going to be aligned on values of service and those things. So, and quite honestly, private equity is prevalent. The baby boomers last 5 years have been retiring out. All those businesses, we're in the midst of the largest transfer of wealth in history here in the United States. And that's going to continue so many businesses are coming. There's so much private money that's looking for good businesses so they can grow. We're in the middle of that right now. And depending on what business you're in, the multiples were quite nice in the environmental services space. There's other M&A was a little off a little bit for economic or whatever, but ours was hot. So
And marketing services has been an interesting place because there's a pretty established model of percentage growth, percentage EBITDA, certain level of EBITDA, and there's a valuation model that follows that. That's a nice multiples, that can drive that. This last one that we did, we had multiple LOIs, multiple different groups that came in, management presentations we went through. What stood out for me with this particular buyer, now partner that we worked with, is a private equity group, but they came in ski jackets and khakis. We sat, the sim lasted about 5 minutes from the presentation. We just got into about a 4-hour conversation about the business. One of the guys across the table, actually a guy I competed with years ago in another agency that I had ran, and he was going to be the guy I was going to be working with. So he knew what it was like to be in my shoes. Hours later, we ended up on the floor of Shucker's restaurant in Seattle after a couple bottles of wine doing one-arm push-up competitions. I'm like, these are the guys I want to do this with, And so you don't know how it's going to be, but in that, we were not apologetic as to who we were. And when our team was there and we were there, we're like, look, this is what we are. This is what we're not. This is what it is. And I would say that's a lesson that I learned, especially from the first couple of deals that I did. Hey, we got to lipstick this pig. We can't show any of the things that we're concerned or insecure about. We can't show any of the weak points in what that is.
I want to buy you a gift. Look, if your marriage is struggling, and let's be real, every marriage struggles at some point, but yours is struggling where you've lost that love, admiration, respect, I want to help you. I want to buy you a copy of the book that I wrote, A Man's Guide on How to Save Your Marriage Without Talking About It. In here, I've distilled over 8 years of programs that we've developed at TPM to help men just like you save their marriages without talking about it. There's no fluff, no BS. It's an action plan that you can start using today to actually save your marriage and bring that love and respect back into your family, back into your house. You deserve it. Look, all I ask is you pay the postage, you pay the shipping, I'll buy the book for you. That way you can take massive action today. Click the link or find it in the bio and get your copy now.
And I would say if you're looking at your business, I got to fix these 2 or 3 things, then it's perfect. Well, then you don't leave anything for the buyer to do to get incremental value out of. So actually identifying some of those things as we did in this last deal. Hey, here's the things that we haven't done yet. Here's the places where we're still broken that you can fix or we can fix together and you can get incremental value from. And there's big potential solutions to that could drive that. That helped us actually create a better deal and deal structure and attract more buyers to what we were doing, our flaws, not our perfections.
I'm curious because obviously exiting the business can be one of the most stressful things you're going to go through, right? And I'm thinking about a guy who's considering it, and let's say he's new to TPM. He hasn't been through the alpha reset or anything like that. Home life is tough. His health is on the rocks.
Yeah.
And everything just got too much for him. I've got to imagine if he has the time to be able to go through something like the alpha reset or some kind of program, let's just say within TPM.
Yeah.
Surely that's going to be beneficial to put him in the best possible place to then personally to then exit the business versus trying to go into the exit on shaky ground.
There's no question. I mean, the reality is the energy of working through a transaction and an exit is completely different than the energy of building the business. In my opinion, how you have to show up in a transaction is one where you have to be in flow. You have to be receiving. You have to be open. It's a process that you have to let go before the deal is done. If you don't let go before you go into the deal, you will not get even close to the best deal possible. You have to be open to working with a team of outsiders that are going to come in and do things in a really different way. And that team's going to go away the minute the deal is done. And then you've got months to work with this whole new structure. Your whole team is like, what's happening with this? And even if your team doesn't know about it till the deal's done,
Right.
energetically, you have to prepare everything. And you have to prepare them, and you have to prepare yourself. It's a very different process to go through a transaction to optimize your valuation, and not just optimize the valuation, but the rewards and the success for everybody involved. You, the seller, your team that's going to be transitioning, your customers, your clients, everybody that supports, all the families, all the mortgages, everything that is, all of that you're transitioning off. That energy is a very different dynamic to go through. And I did it wrong a few times, no question. I think I've done the last few, and this last one in particular, much better. But had I had the tools of TPM, I could tell you right now, it would have been another turn or two on the multiple.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
Really?
I can tell you from my experience that TPM, what I learned in the movement and the skills I learned, just the relational skills, people skills, emotional management skills, engaged in difference in negotiations, being able to speak what I'm feeling, clearly without fear of offending, scaring a buyer off or whatever, just having that groundedness and strength to just be me and more confidence in the process. Number one, being in TPM got me to the realization that I was there. But number two, it got me through that process emotionally and then to have a conversation with the team afterwards. Hey guys, today's a great day. I got some news for you. Our new company name, and that, previously I would have been, oh my gosh, what are they going to think?
Deer mode, right?
Fear. It's
Fall
like,
into deer mode as well.
yeah, totally. So this really, to your point, yes, TPM, going to the reset, really equipped me well for this process. And I think we came out of it much better off for having the whole company, for me having gone through this process.
Yeah. And I would say the things I've implemented into this business since TPM and the dynamics of how the team and everything is running, even though I've sold a majority of it, still own a good chunk, still operating it day to day, working through kind of the next transition in the company. The amplification of that has been extraordinary. And I'm at a place with my PE partners now where we've acknowledged it is time for me to step out for the next transaction and what that path is going to look like. I mean, even moving our company headquarters, doing all kinds of things to get it ready for the next deal, and my openness to that and what that's going to be, not only for me personally, but for the people in the company and what that looks like, and for the partners and for our clients and our customers and for what needs to become now. It's not a process that's going to happen quickly. It's going to take time, but the openness to work towards that for what I want and for what's right for everything, would not have had that before.
Yeah. One thing that came to mind just a few minutes ago was in the conversations I've had with again, most of us are business owners in TPM. I know that's no longer the case. You guys are opening up a little bit, and which is great. The number one comment I've heard is like from a business owner, well, if I sold, what would I do?
Mm-hmm.
What would I do? What is my identity?
Who would I be?
Who would I be? Yeah, exactly. So, and even though they may be there, they don't know what the next step is, and they feel stuck. So how can TPM in this case help a man come to realize that what that next chapter looks like? And that has specifically, as I renewed my membership in TPM, is like that was my intention this year. It's like I know I'm going to go through this transition. I'm going to use these resources to help me, and these men to help me identify what my purpose is, my passions are for this next chapter, help draw that out, clarify that, crystallize it, so that I'm not going to be the guy that's just going to get bored in retirement and implode. All right, I'm going to be the guy that's going to have just as much drive, the purpose. It's just going to look different. And I'm going to have a life that's just as energetic and abundant and exciting and not boring. and I'm still going to create a lot of value in the world. I'm still going to be a light, a bright light.
I would add to that and just say, for me, I think, post this last deal coming through that, I thought I had it all figured out. And now I'm realizing, no, actually, what I really want to be and who I really am is actually quite different. And learning that, and my advice to a guy who's in that spot, like, hey, maybe, but I don't know what I would be. I don't know what that would look like, especially if you're in this movement and where that is. Don't worry about that right now.
Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about that.
And it will be revealed.
It will be revealed, and you will rise to it. Especially if you come do this like what we did this last week, right? It will come to you. But take it, if those are your promptings, and that's the fear that's holding you back. That fear is the fuel and the signal to where you need to go and what you need to lean into.
That's where you need to go.
And so, get the deal done, get it completed, wrap it up. If you've been to a reset, come to the rise. Then we'll get together with you. We'll figure it out.
I'm excited to help you guys in this next chapter. I fully believe that it's a bit controversial, but what a lot of you guys are looking for isn't actually purpose, it's permission.
Yeah.
Because I think you know what it is you want to do. Well, I know.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what it is you want to do.
Let's give ourselves
And it's
permission
just like
to do
the,
so.
the same similar beliefs that came in when you were in college and you started eco-analyst and you're like, will this work? Can I do this? There's fear, which is, but this time it's different, right? Because the motivations are very different. It's a choice. And sometimes when you have so many options, it can be a little paralyzing, right? A little bit overwhelming.
What's the right one?
Yeah. But to your point, you guys, you just get to start. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, literally.
Please preach, brother. Preach it, brother. Preach it.
You guys just get to start yesterday on the podcast, Gary.
Yeah.
You came out of the King's Council, you came straight on, you took action. You and I were brainstorming last night. It's not purpose, it's permission. Because you know what it is.
Yeah.
You just get to have the belief and give yourself the permission to allow it to flow through and create it in the world. The details and the strategy and all that stuff, they'll be figured out over time. That's not an issue. That's the easy bit, right? The big piece is you giving yourself permission to go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
The coaching never stops.
I'm excited for you guys.
We are too. We are too, man. We are too. There's some ideas cooking.
I can see. So, I know you've shared a lot of wisdom in this. And again, I'm thinking about the guy that's really resonating with this. Between you guys, giving 3 things he could do right now to help him to move through this transition. Let's say I'll clarify a little bit further for you. He's resonating with the idea that he's falling out of love with what he's doing. He's realizing his motives for doing what he's doing. Maybe actually he's outgrown them, right? He's resonating with the idea that he's falling out of love with his business. His health isn't in a good spot. He's maybe not in the best spot at home with his wife or his kids. But he needs to do something. It just isn't working for him right now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give that guy? Give him 3 things he could do right now.
I think number one is listen to his heart. Listen and just listen to his body and listen to his heart and say, your body's keeping a score right now. Your energy. And it's like,
love that, yeah.
Pay attention. This is something real. This isn't just a fleeting feeling. Something is going on here, and change is in the wind. And number one, just embrace that idea. Embrace that idea. And that I think is key.
Yeah. You want to keep going?
Now I got to think of 2 and 3.
Okay. yeah. I think that's a beautiful thing to just take signal of. I think one of the things I'd give advice for right away is find a guy either in the movement or somebody else who's been through this. Get a mentor, somebody you can talk to, somebody who has no vested interest in being hired by you to be an investment banker or anything like that. I mean, you're going to need a team. But to have a mentor or someone to talk to that you can just be a sounding board and a narrative, I'm happy to do it. Reach out. Gary's happy to help out with some, but just, someone you can talk to and have a couple conversations with about what you're going through, either with a coach or just one-on-one. I think that to dialogue, to just start the conversation about it, start talking about it with someone that can understand where you're at and has been where you're at and where that is. I think that would be a good thing just to get the dialogue flowing, to uncover those feelings, to feel those feelings, to express those feelings and where that is. I think that would be a really key thing. The other thing that I would do is I would sit down and write out everything I want from a transaction. Like what it is that I actually want as a result of this. And then I would edit and edit and edit and edit that list over time and keep going back to that list. And
I had it all my way.
Yeah. If I had it all my way,
Dream.
what would it been really get down to? Because we would get in our mind like, well, if I had this and this was structured this way and that was, but really get to the core of that, like what you want. And maybe it's a particular number, maybe it's a particular sense of freedom, maybe it's particular, but once you have that, then you can build a deal to make that happen. But if you're not clear on what it is you want and why you want that, what that core nugget is, then you're going to go into a process and you're going to go in without clarity of what you want the outcome to be. And then you become victim to whatever happens in that process and what that could happen. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that clarity is really important. And then I'm trying to figure exactly how to articulate this. And I don't know if these are 1, 2, and 3, but they're all 3 things that I would do, not necessarily in priority order. But I would say you really gotta take stock of why you were in the business from the beginning and what you've done to serve it, what it's done to serve you, and evaluate really honestly of where the value is in the business that you're selling. And really understand what that value is. Because I've been through a number of these, not only my deals, but working with other guys that have gone through this, where they don't really see the true value of the business to a potential buyer. They see what they think that value is or what their intention was, but they don't really understand what the value of the business is to a buyer, what the potential is that someone could take it to the next level and what that would look like. And until you have that clear and what that looks like, you don't know what you're selling.
And that may mean just hiring and get an appraisal of your business, evaluation. You could either think, a guy could think, oh, it's worth way more than that. And then he may have a reality check. He's like, who's going to want to buy this thing? They're like, oh, it's worth that much, which was our case. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to market. So we didn't know we had 1 year, 2 years. Like, oh no, we're ready now. I mean, this thing is worth this much now. So
exploring what a buyer might do with your business, right? And what that might look like, or what other markets they might open that up with, or what different things might be. I mean, there's some effort to go into that so you know what you're selling. And what you're selling may be different than you thought what you were building all along. And so getting somebody to talk through all these feelings, where this is, understand what you want the outcome to be, and really get to an understanding of what you're selling. I think those would be the first 3 key things before you kick off a process with investment bankers, potentials, and you're probably getting those calls right now from those guys. Hey, we do your industry. We know you're weekly. Just hold those off. Right?
Yeah. I think the one, and you kind of mentioned it with a guide, a mentor. If somebody's resonating with this, and the marriage is rocky, and their health isn't great. I've heard so many stories from guys how the sale of the business actually came at the cost of other things in their life they wanted to keep, because it was that final straw that broke the camel's back. That, however long the process is, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the earnout is, whatever it may be, right? And because the process is can be so stressful as well, depending on the partner you pick and otherwise, and what is riding on it, and
how you're viewing it, your stories about it.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Whether somebody goes through an alpha reset or does something else, whatever they do, I just think it's really important they do something to put themselves in a really good position to be able to be grounded and to be indifferent and to be clear on who they are and what they want and what life might look like afterwards and the value they bring and all the things, because otherwise it could be the thing that actually the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Which is a terrible thing to happen. It's supposed to be
it's supposed to be the freedom.
Liberating.
It's supposed to be the golden parachute.
Should be the happiest time, and it can be the saddest and most stressful and worst, right? I mean,
I've spoke with tons of guys who said that the worst they've felt is after the sale of the business.
Interesting. So I think the key question to ask is know your why.
Yeah. Why?
Why? Yeah. Why do I want to sell? Why do I feel like I need to sell? Why do I not want to sell? Just really having some clarity. And I think that's these conversations with people who have walked the path before you and done it. Learned from their experiences. Mentoring is key. These conversations. I had an outside advisor for the last 3 years, and he had built and sold his business and had a good exit, and he coached. Business coaching, sure, but he was just as much about how he was feeling and what he felt and learned and the psychology and how it affected his life in good ways. But so it's a key part of it is the psychology. That's probably the biggest part, to be honest with you.
And then you go through a deal. I mean, there will be times in a deal that you feel like you're absolutely being destroyed, you're being taken advantage of, things criticized. You're criticized. I mean, the energetic onslaught that comes. I mean, you're on trial for months, basically, and it's brutal, and it can be that. And having somebody, in your corner, that's like, nope. Remember, this is what we're focused on. Remember, we're going to do this. There was a guy in the movement who was going through a process of selling his company right before Prague.
I remember,
and it was an amazing deal, an opportunity. For him.
Almost blew it up.
He almost blew it up over a few $1,000s a month. That at the last minute they were playing. And it was all an emotional reaction.
I remember. I remember having conversations with him.
It was all an emotional reaction.
Talking off the ledge.
It took a few of us just to sit him down and go, look, let's just do the math.
Big picture.
Let's just do the math on this real quick, right? Let's just do the math. This, and this, and they're going to delay that. Then they're going to pay you a percentage. And I know you're not getting exactly what you want right now, but if we look at this over the next, and once he was able to emotionally, and a few of us literally had to hold him down and talk him through this, and he was like, whoa, this is actually better. And logic, that just wasn't there, right? And now he's on the other side of it. Phenomenal deal.
Yeah.
He's living life large. It's a great partnership. They're rocking things and going down. And so I just having that engagement within the brotherhood, within TPM, within some mentor, who can help you stay energetically grounded, I think is super important.
Because that gent in question, right, he's going through a real tough time personally as well.
Yeah, very much so.
And I think that influenced his emotional capacity was
Correct.
spent.
Correct.
So then
Totally.
when different things, when things changed in the deal towards the last minute, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have the emotional capacity to
Correct.
even deal with it. So he wanted to blow it up.
Yeah.
It was like a reaction to what was going on personally.
my
that
ball
he was
and go
gonna-
home.
Yeah, that was going to take out on this deal.
Yeah.
So obviously it was great for him to go through the process that he went through in Prague as well.
Yeah,
With
very
all
much
these
so.
fine men.
Yeah,
I think that
remember it.
contributed to him being able to
Yes.
get a bit clearer and let go of a few things and see things a bit differently. And it's so intertwined, right? It's so intertwined.
Love that guy. Love that guy when you're listening
Amazing,
to this.
man.
Yeah.
Amazing, man.
I think
Gents,
that's
thank you
huge.
so much. It's I think guys are going to get a lot of value from this.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Tim.
Yeah.
Great topic to come up
Yeah,
with,
way
just
to-
like that.
way to put that one together. Way to plan that one out. Too.
yeah.
A lot of time it's planning this one, guys.
Yeah.
Hours
Exactly.
and hours and hours. You guys make it easy, so thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
So, guys, as we always say, at the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.